From drought-parched fields to a soggy harvest, I'm Feedstuffs editor Andy Vance, and this is Dateline Drought, brought to you by Genuity's Drought Guard Hybrids. I'm filling in for Max Armstrong, who's traveling as per usual, out visiting farmers across the countryside. Some of the things we're going to be talking about today, a reversal of fortune, at least in the eastern Corn Belt, with some wet conditions, giving producers a number of things to consider after the summer-long drought. Ohio State University's agronomic crops team, for example, reports a number of farmers sending in pictures of premature corn kernels sprouting across the Buckeye State. Take a look at this picture, for example, where we're seeing premature sprouting from one of the Ohio Corn Performance Test plots at the Northwestern Research Station, associated with a tight husk and an upright orientation. So how do you account for that? Peter Thomason, one of the corn experts at the Ohio State Extension, says a combination of factors, including erect ears, bird damage, ear molds, wet weather, all contributing to premature sprouting. Now, that problem's usually limited within fields, but if you see it evident across a field, there's potential to cause drying and storage problems. Fields showing widespread kernel sprouting probably ought to move to the top of your priority list to get those out of the field and into the bin. We've been following the development of aflatoxin-related issues for quite some time, and now a number of states, including Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, and Nebraska, have received Food and Drug Administration approval for blending those toxin-contaminated corns with clean corn for animal feeding. You can read more about that in the October 1st edition of Feedstuffs, the weekly newspaper for agribusiness, and at our website, feedstuffs.com. So what will the weather hold for us? It has been raining in the east. I can tell you it was raining in Columbus, Ohio again today. In fact, as we're speaking, it's raining at my house. That means farmers who had been ready to get into the field or perhaps had already started opening fields up have slowed down quite a bit. Based on data since 1995, USDA's chief meteorologist Brad Rippey tells us that U.S. corn and soybean harvests are proceeding at a record clip. By September 23rd, more than one-third, 39% to be exact, of the corn had been harvested. That's a good 3 times the 5-year average. During the preceding 17 years, the record amount of U.S. corn harvested by that date, 24% in 2000. Similar story in soybeans, where as of Monday, 22%, a little more than a fifth, had been harvested. Prior to that, the record-setting pace was September 23rd of 2000, when we had 18% of the soybeans already in the bin. Winter wheat, that's coming right along, and prospects, Rippey says, are improving due to the recent and ongoing rainfall. Beneficial rain through the central and southern plains and into the Ohio Valley, making conditions pretty good for getting wheat up and started. 1/4 of the wheat acreage had been planted as of Monday. That's 2 percentage points behind the 5-year average. As you can see from this map, the variation spreading somewhat geographically, with seeding particularly slow across the northwestern half of the plains and portions of the northwest, as farmers look for more moisture. What will the weather hold moving forward? Well, a slow-moving cold front this week, generally providing locally heavy showers and thunderstorms from the central southern plains regions into the mid-Atlantic, with rainfall totals 1 to 3 inches expected right along the front. Now, next week, then we're going to see a little different tale with below normal temperatures prevailing in most of the areas from the plains into the east coast. Wet weather going to continue in the eastern Corn Belt, but little or no precipitation from the Mississippi Valley westward. The market's gearing up for that big grain stocks report coming out in the morning. For more on what's happening in the markets, here's Farm Futures' Bryce Knorr.
Selling yesterday on Wednesday was attributed in part to weakness in outside markets that sent stocks and commodities broadly lower. But Thursday's downdraft couldn't be blamed on any of the usual Wall Street suspects, like fears of European debt or worries about the looming fiscal cliff in Washington. While other markets rallied today, grains continued to head south, making new lows across the board. For corn, the only good news was the ability of December futures to close around the 38.2% retracement of its summer rally after testing the water below that level during the session. Still, December futures closed down 8.5 at 17.16 3/4, making 11-week lows. In addition to chart weakness, fundamentals were in play too. Net export sales in the latest week totaled just 11,600 bushels. Shipments were better because preseason sales made this summer are still being loaded out. but the backlog of orders will be filled soon at this rate. Selling came as traders braced for the possibility of a bearish September 1st grain stocks report tomorrow. The last two of these September inventories have been higher than trade guesses. This time USDA has widely discussed both its procedures for avoiding the commingling of old and new crop corn and its rationale for higher old crop stocks due to feeding of early harvested new crop corn. That could keep the market from a real bearish reaction tomorrow. Still, while I think carryout should be just over 1 billion bushels, around 175 million less than USDA's last estimate, conventional wisdom in the trade sees only a small change. The other report out tomorrow includes an updated estimate of 2012 wheat production. I think USDA's estimate could be down 21 million bushels from its last forecast in August, but changes likely won't be big. Worries about the reports aren't why wheat fell today. That had more to do with corn. Wheat has been trading for a big premium to corn, causing some livestock feeders to stop using wheat in favor of corn again. That led to selling of the spread, which took wheat down more than corn. The futures broke below August-September support lines at all three exchanges. Chicago December was down 13 3/4 at 8.55 1/4. Kansas City lost 16 1/4 to 8.78 1/4. And Minneapolis was off 15 1/4 to 9.14 1/4. Export sales or shipments were decent of wheat, but not great. There's a lot of wheat being bought on the world market, but right now, France and Australia are winning the business. Soybeans put up some fight today thanks to a strong week of exports with 29.4 million bushels of new sales reported. USDA also announced the sale of another 4 million bushels to China under its daily reporting system for large purchases. But selling pressure continued nonetheless. Traders don't expect USDA to cut its old crop carryout estimate tomorrow, though it could be down around 10 million bushels. November futures fell to 8-week lows, breaking November chart support, though it was able to bounce back to the retracement level on the nearby chart, finishing at 15.70 1/4, down 2 1/4. Keep up with the drought situation across the country by visiting www.datelinedrought.com.